It's been quite a while since we've done an update on Chris Chan, and honestly, that's pretty surprising because he's historically one of the most actively online people there ever was. But over the past few months, he's been increasingly more and more off the grid. If you've been in the dark or you just don't remember what Chris has been up to, he's been with this girl named Flutter, some random woman who's been seen only in very grainy pictures with Chris, but Chris has apparently also been chilling with her over in Europe as well. And a lot of people, including myself, suspected that that's where Chris has been all this time. But of course, yet another grainy photo of the two came out, and this time they were spotted back in Virginia. So they've been spotted in Virginia before, they've been spotted over in Finland, but now it seems like they're back here in the good old US of A. And this time they're at a pet store. I don't know if they're looking to adopt another pet, but if you know Chris Chan's past, this is probably a terrible idea. I will say this, with Flutter, Chris seems to be like a completely different person. I don't know if you guys noticed, but where's all the tie-dye shirts, you know? Where's the colorful Sonichu shit? He's just got on a random generic black hoodie. Now, I assume this is because Chris just got fed up with people taking pictures of him in public. And let me just say, Chris, you're doing a bang-up job. No pictures of you in public are seemingly coming out. But for real, though, for real, this has been the first one in like months. So maybe it is working for him. Who knows? I will also say, this is like the clearest picture of Flutter I've ever seen. But here's where I'm confused, and I need to let you guys, like, you need to help me out here. I need to know your opinion down in the comments, and trust me, this isn't just bait to get you guys to comment something. I need to know your opinion, because I am just 50-50 on this. Again, this is the clearest picture of Flutter I've ever seen, and from some angles, she looks like the 30 to 40-year-old woman that most people suspect her to be. But from other angles, she also looks very young, which, again, it can't be the fact that Chris has been going around the world with a very, very young girl. But people just looking at this girl still have their suspicions, and no matter what picture comes out, I can't make heads or tails of it. Again, I'm going to assume she's closer to Chris's age, but none of these pictures are doing this any justice. But again, I'll just say I'm pretty sure this is a woman who's close to Chris's age, if not a little bit younger, maybe a little bit older, I don't know. Man, it's been weird. It's been an entire weird ride ever since Chris got out of jail for doing what he did to his mom. A lot of people suspected that he would just end up homeless, and things went in a completely different direction. Chris is now making good money. Like, some people were theorizing over $100,000 a year on his Etsy page, which, yes, I imagine the Praetor, the people who like wrangle him, those people are taking most of that money, but still, Chris is still seeing a pretty penny, especially for someone like Chris who was making next to nothing only a few years ago. He's also traveling the world seemingly with this girl who, you know, there's no proof it's his girlfriend, but the amount of time they spend together seemingly, I don't know, man, the signs are there. They're either best friends or they're in a relationship. But Chris's life is not the pit of despair people assumed it would be when he got out of jail. And honestly, this is like the most normal Chris's life has been in a long time now. I'm saying all this, and in a little bit, it's going to go completely off the rails, but, you know, it's wild to me because I'm wondering, are they just living in that place that Chris was at for the longest time once he got out of jail, the other house in Virginia? Are they back at Branchland Court with Barb? Because I'm pretty sure legally Chris can do that. But yeah, Chris is back in Virginia, and he's also back on his grind with trying to sell shit because he's got these new Sonichu and Rosechu plushies for sale. Now, let me just say something. I always tell people, don't buy anything from Chris. This is for a multitude of reasons, but the number one being, you know, what he did to his mom, but number two being the bad luck that comes with it. If you own a Chris Chan product, bad luck is just gonna swiftly come find you. But I need to talk about these things, because if they were just normal plushies, that'd be creepy enough knowing they were made from the hands of Chris, right? But what makes it so much worse is that he's voicing them. So like imagine, right, you have this Sonichu plushie sitting in your bed, and in the middle of the night you accidentally roll over and all you hear is, "Zap him to the extreme," or some shit like that. Like, your eyes would just bolt open, you'd be like, holy shit, is Chris Chan in my bed? And then you'd realize quickly, no, it's just the Rosechu plushie. I only thought that because Chris's impressions of Rosechu and Sonichu are just his voice, because he's never been good at impressions, but he always demanded he did the voices anyway, and that's exactly what he's doing here with his new plushie line. I also think it's very important to note that unlike Nova Online, Chris has like dramatically slimmed down. Chris looks He looks in better shape than he has in years, so good on Chris for that one, I gotta say. I brought it up earlier, maybe Flutter is changing something in him. Maybe these Praetor people are like, they're doing right by Chris. They're getting him on the right path of life, He's getting in shape physically. Maybe they're helping him mentally. No matter what, Chris is becoming a changed man, a better man, a man who doesn't do stuff to his mom, and a man who actually works hard for his money and thinks straight with a head on his shoulders. And I say all that right before reading the batshit lunacy we're about to read, because oh my god, I can't believe that even for 1 second I thought, man, maybe Chris is doing a little bit better. Maybe he's trying to get attuned to a normal life. But no, he's still firmly entrenched into the Sonichu shit, the pony world, the idea of him being God, and this little blog post he made that you can read all of on the Quickie. It'll be linked in the description below, because without the Quickie, there's no way you'd be able to keep up on all these Chris Chan topics, especially a post as fucking crazy as this. I've said this a million times, and I'm gonna say it for one more, that Chris is somebody that I never can see changing out of the way that he is. And after reading a post like this, there's no way you're going to have, anything else but that idea, too. Because, you can't even imagine him just walking normally around town with Flutter, right? Like that picture of them in the pet store. Because it's never going to be like, wow, Chris, look at this kitten. And Chris going, wow, honey, I don't do a good Chris impression, but wow, we should get that. We should get that kitten. It's more like, wow, honey, you see that kitten? Well, they say he can't be left alone. That could be a hassle. And Chris is like, yeah, you know what's the hassle? Evil Power Rangers? What do you mean, evil fucking Power Rangers, Flutter? The shit that I'm dealing with in Quickville right now is so much more than your kitten-laden nonsense I'm dealing with over here. And I know that sounds like it's just a shitty joke, but it's reality. That's really the type of shit Chris is probably just spewing out and thinking in his mind all day. It's always been like that. He's always had, a love of fictional characters, and of course you can look at Sonichu and see exactly that. But it's gotten so bad that he now wants it to be some real thing, when even in the past, in his younger years, he admitted that Sonichu and this whole world of his was all a make-believe thing. Not anymore, because he wants you to believe it's real. And this post, after reading all this, we'll see if you believe it's real or not. So this is called the Autobots of Quickville, and from what I can gather just from skimming through it, Chris is talking about everybody who helps his little world coexist. The city and nation of Quickville has a great number of defenses and heroes who protect it and nearby, one of which is the Autobots of Quickville, appointed by Optimus Prime himself. Let's go back to the year 1993 when Robert Franklin Chandler Jr. was inducted as mayor, and during that time Chris and Barbara had moved to Midlothian, Virginia, the better educations. Chris has a lot of spelling mistakes and stuff, and I'm going to try to correct him when I can. Other times he's going to catch me off guard like he does right there. But yeah, Chris is kind of giving a little rundown of his life. As of right now, him and Bob moving to Midlothian, I'm pretty sure that was what happened, not him and Barbara, but what he's describing here is what apparently happened in his little world when Bob was inducted as mayor of Quickville. So just take that for what you will. Of course, Bob's the fucking mayor, because it always has to be someone in Chris's life or Chris himself who's the higher power or the big kahuna. Between both Robert and Magichan Sonichu, they knew the facts that Chris was to be earnestly, physically, and magically trained with the psychic powers. And in the years not long from then, when Chris and I would become awakened of our powers and abilities, not just the city of Quickville, but the entire state of Virginia would become a popular target of supervillains and foes. So he's trying to give you a bit of a history lesson, saying that his dad and Magichan Sonichu, they knew that Chris was the one. They knew that Chris was up next, that when all was said and done, he had to be the one to take it to the evil villains and all that. And basically, it's always got to be him. Like I said, it couldn't be anybody else. Chris was always the chosen one, and that's just that. And you're seeing that all happen in real time today when he's telling it right to your face. You're not seeing it, but he's telling you it, so you better fucking believe it. As early as 1980, Magichan personally trained and evolved a lot of Alakazams and other psychic and various Pokemon for initial defenses and involved reinforcements. He had also selected and trained a number of psychic and fairy types of special and regular Sonichus and Rosechus, with increasing numbers of the species after the Chaos Rainbow of February 1st, 2003. These over-level, hyper-trained, and mega-evolvable Pokemon were the earliest defense groups. Robert also contacted Optimus Prime of the Autobots and inquired of any able Autobots to help defend the city. Fortunately, a team of 5 Cybertronian Autobots had been personally designated, I think he means, manifested and trained to Voyager ranks, even though most of them were deluxe class bots, by Autobot Chris Chan herself and her partner Rungop, as well as the links with the ancients, histories, and wisdoms. Rungop! Okay, there's going to be so many characters introduced here that I feel like Rungop is going to be just the bottom of the barrel, but let's keep it going. More on their story later. Oh, thank God. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot on this. I mean, trust me, I'm looking at the screen right now, and it's nothing but words, so I'm guaranteed we're going to hear about that later, no doubt. The alliance with the Autobots was made. Also, a special project made on Cybertron and imported a set of 5 combining vehicles that were piloted by Quickville's team of Power Ranters to combine kaiju-sized threats. The barterings and alignments were made in 1993. The Zords were completed by 1995. With upgrades, since go-karts were prototypically fragile, they were no longer simply go-karts, and the team led by Christian, of course Chris is the fucking leader, from 1995 to 2000, was formed as Crash Dummy had gathered his troops and targeted Virginia in mid-late 1995. The psychic tower that hovers over the Quickville Police Department had been erected in 1995. And the inside could only be accessed by code and key-controlled elevator and or by teleporting into by a psychic type. I mean, Jesus Christ, Chris is giving you like a whole bunch of dates that I cannot keep up with because we're going from 1980 to 2003 to 93 to 95 to 95 to 95 again. And I guess my main takeaway is that Chris wants you to know that these were not normal go-karts. Don't even think that they were. I think what he's referencing here is back in the day, he used to have these little races he would create with his Game Boy camera. And of course, Chris always won every single one of these races against people like, Mario and Peach and Cole Smithy, his half-brother. It was all fucking wacky, but Chris was always the big winner in the end. And I think that's what he's talking about here, those great races they had in the 90s to stop Crash Dummy or whoever. We have our various teams to defend depending on the severity of the offenses and size. Megatron/Galvatron had attempted to harness energy from Quickville's resources and Sonichu's and Rosechu's a few times and was thwarted and repelled by Sanchu, Chris's fucking car, of course. Of course. And his team with backup. Even a number of attacks by piloted Vehicons of Walsh and Graduan, the Pokemon and the tank-level threats of Team Rocket, and Robotnik's mechanical oversized menaces could not stand easily against Quickville's Autobots, Power Rangers, the Sonichus, Rosechus, and Pokemon of the Psychic Squadron, and the Special Sonichus and Rosechus of the city Quickville, Virginia. By God, what a story! This part makes you feel like you're reading an old-school Sonichu comic. Chris is referencing everyone from the top on down. Mary Lee Walsh, I mean, that woman has been in his lore for almost like 25 years now, which is crazy to think. Sanchu, his car, I didn't know he was still around, but he is, and they're all working together to stop the evil forces of Graduan, Robotnik, Mary Lee Walsh, all the classic villains. But here's the story of our Cybertronian team on Cybertron in our universe 1C211987. The wars between the Autobots and Decepticons with the Allied Guardians and Renegades of the lost planet of Gabatron on Cybertron as well did wage on from time to time, and their war had reached Earth time and again, as chronicled in Generation 1 and updated over the years. Are you guys following along? Like Gabatron and the Cybertronians? Like, come on now, this is all easy stuff to understand. I'm gonna be honest, I don't understand a goddamn thing I'm reading right now. I think what the point of this video is gonna end up being is just a whole bunch of world building for Chris onto his Quickville universe, the Cybertronians and all that. They're here, and not only here, but they're also on the lost planet of fucking Gabatron as well. And I bet you didn't know that before going into this video. Guarantee it. On Cybertron, there are creators and scientists who help make, heal, and restore their fellow bots, be they in the same alliance, different, or neutral. One Autobot that was manifested from Victor Sigma within Cybertron Primus that also had a direct link with this universe's core and matrix was a bright pink and blue female Autobot that started out with an alt form of a microscope, or the tank mode was an option as well as with that body type. So either a microscope or a tank. And with the way Chris words it, like, it's another option with that body type. Like, he makes it sound like a normal thing. No, those two things are complete polar opposites. But moving on, who had awoken with the Avatar insights and foreknowledge, and from that dubbed herself after the one true Avatar of all existence with the name Chris Chan. Of course, it's fucking Chris. Chris Chan had developed and learned from her studies and meditations of Cybertron, her race, and the entire universe in her own spirituality with her spark. She had observed all mechanics of the other bots of various sizes, origins, combination abilities, Headmaster and Weapon Master, Minicons, Micromasters, Transactors, the Titan bots, Primus, and Unicron, and so on. Did he mean to write Unicorn right there? I don't know. The only thing I gathered from that is that the big hero at the end of the day, the main focal point of this story always has to come back to being Chris. And all the things that Chris is observing right there, the Minicons, the Micromasters, the Titan bots, Primus, the bands. Chris is keeping a close eye on them. Chris is he's always watching, That's the God in Chris. He's always watching, he's always there, and he's always going to make sure if you're being naughty or nice. So with that out of the way, let's get back to talking about Chris. Chris Chan had developed her own unique technologies from her spiritual and multiversal explorations. It's just multiversal explorations. Like, Chris tries to make it sound like this big grand thing when it's really just him zoning out in his bedroom pretending to be flying around space with Sonichu and a bunch of Transformers. But moving on. Chris Chan had developed her own unique technologies from her spiritual and multiversal explorations. There was a time when she had fatally fallen, then was resurrected by the universe core and Primus, but with a great immortal benefit. During her downtime, her spark had traveled to an alternate universe where her self-counterpart there was a Prime. She donned and possessed the matrix of leadership on behalf of Rodimus Prime. How many fucking Primes are there? Chris Chan Prime was in an alternate universe that was slated to be lost and become a void by will of a certain dark evil sorcerer there who had slain the one Avatar there. When that universe was lost, so was Autobot Chris Chan Prime. Or was she? Oh shit. Back on Cybertron in our Universe 1C211987, about 3 days after her fall, oh my god, Chris Chan was alive and fully restored as she was without any loss or memory or data. She had quite the souvenir in her core, the matrix of leadership from the lost universe. Now she had become a Prime, while the matrix remained within Optimus Prime, and from her later creations, she created her life-giving partner Rungop with a bit of energy from her matrix. I mean, are you guys hearing this? He's basically just giving the story of Jesus Christ, and on the third day he was resurrected, and I love how he plays it off as like just some whatever thing. Like, I even got a souvenir. Like, it sounds like he got one of those, like, oh, crucified, but at least I got this t-shirt. Like, he went on a big roller coaster or something. The way Chris tries to play it off is his own resurrection story, and this was it. And apparently Rungop was there too, so like that's pretty fucking cool. And Chris basically is telling you all this because this is how he became a Prime. And a Prime, I guess, is one of like the best, the cream of the crop. And of course, because Chris is Chris, and Chris has to be the big kahuna in all his stories, he of course is one of the main Primes. And to note, all of that had transpired within the past over 1,000 Earth years, and at this point now, it had become within Earth's year 1739. So all this stuff Chris is talking about happened in the year 1739. Just keep up, guys. Come on now. Continuing in her pursuits, she manifested and gave life to a number of other Autobots while also upgrading her fellow bots on Cybertron as well. She made and gave life to a yellow and blue Autobot, and upon completion she had a vision of Sonichu Prime from the Earth's future. She dubbed this Autobot Sanchu with glory and pride, so again, it's Chris's car. I guess the first the first son of God of Chris Chan Prime is his car, Sanchu. Chris Chan Prime had appreciated her microscope and tank from an original body, but as a Prime, she felt it was time for an upgrade of her own. So, with Rungop's help, she created a transector that took the form of a lovely, stylish sports race car and created the body to migrate her head onto. And Chris Chan Prime became a headmaster. You get it? You get it? But she didn't stop there. For she also gave her new body combiner limb compatibility and form so she can better and actively help her team. She still has her original body reformed into a transector, but her choice weapon remains her scope cannon. So, I mean, we're getting the biology here of Sanchu. The fact that, like, now she's a race car. It's also a she now, did not know that. But I'll be honest, after reading all this, I didn't know that Sanchu played such an integral part into Chris's, like intergalactic universal story here. I really thought Sanchu was just Chris's car and nothing more, but apparently I was completely wrong. Chris Chan Prime had bested the Decepticons, including Shockwave, Megatron, and Galvatron time and again, alone and alongside her team, as well as Optimus and Rodimus themselves. Maybe Rodimus is an actual Transformer. I didn't watch it much as a kid, so forgive me if I'm a bit, ignorant on that fact, but, the way Chris describes it is, yeah, sometimes they were there, but most of the time he could have done it alone. He could take down all these guys. He's always besting the Decepticons, because good always prevails over evil. It's a story as old as time, and it's a story that remains true in Chris's universe, always. Now, Autobot Sanchu, since his creation and spark-given activation by Chris Chan Prime and Rungop, he learned of the history and the future from his creator and fellow Autobot, and Sanchu enlisted for combat training with Chris Chan Prime taking part as well. They met and became friends with fellow Autobots, Selena, Bumbalumba, Bumbalumba's back, yes, Prowler, and Armor Axe, among other bots. They all trained, fought hard and tough, and survived for many of the Earth's years. I mean, Bumbalumba being brought back up always makes me so happy. Anytime Bumbalumba's fighting alongside Chris, I'm here for it. But at first, I thought this was mainly going to be telling the history of Chris and all that, and his part in the Autobots, but now we're getting to Sanchu, and Chris is he's going real in depth, showing that Sanchu was one of the first real prime Autobots, with the spark that Chris gave him when he created him and all that. I mean, then again, that's what this whole article or writing we're reading is called, the Autobots of Quickville, so just expect to hear a lot about this Transformer shit. Sanchu was elected to be leader by his peers and friends, so I mean, now we just jump right to that. Time has gone on and everyone agrees, yeah, he's the best. He's Chris's car, he's the leader, of course, because if Chris isn't the leader right now, then his second in command has to be. Come 1993, after Optimus Prime talked with Mayor Robert Franklin Chandler Jr. of Quickville, Optimus contacted the Autobot Brigade and Elite for a team of Autobots to go to Virginia to assist in defense services. Chris Chan Prime responded and elected Sanchu and his team. She showed Optimus their earned ranks and marks, and he agreed. So Sanchu, Selena, Bumbalumba, Prowler, and Armor Axe took a space badge and arrived in Quickville, Virginia on Earth, greeted and welcomed by Robert and Magichan. And the Autobots of Quickville have been and continued to rescue and earn their keep and energon. During the events with Idea Guy in 2017 and 2018, Sanchu had lost his body, oh did he? But Chris Chan Prime had foreseen this and had built a new transector and carted it to Earth and upgraded Sanchu's head to be a headmaster for it. No memories or data was lost. So that part right there is Chris trying to retcon all the Idea Guy stuff where they made him I don't remember what exactly they did to Sanchu, but they desecrated his car in some way. And since these guys kind of fucked with Chris's whole imaginary world, he's been trying to retcon that and make it right for years now. Any normal person can see that the Quick Stopo and the Nazis attacking Quickville was something these guys forced Chris to add to his comic, but since it was there for a little bit and Chris had to talk about it, he believes that it really happened and he has to work very hard to go back and clean up this giant mess. There was also a time where Chris Chan's Matrix needed to be safeguarded and transferred, and Sanchu was entrusted with the task and succeeded, because of course he did. I don't remember one story where these guys failed. There's the story where Chris Chan Prime dies, but of course he's resurrected again, because again, Chris wins, lol. The central base of the Quickville Autobots is just outside the city to the northwest, and not far from the General Electric plant. Now, Chris, why would you give your enemies that information? Like, if I was Marilee Walsh, I'd just be rubbing my hands together over my crystal ball, like, you fool! You have given me everything I needed to know now, Chris Chan, so... It's funny because you think he'd have, like, he'd be giving his villains the upper hand, but no matter what, Chris always wins in the end, even if they know exactly where his base is. Optimus Prime, Ratchet, and Wheeljack, what happened to Ratchet and Clank? With their construction bots, imported restored parts from a destroyed space shuttle to make what they needed and where to store Energon. Prime helped to provide at times, as well as where I instantly manifest up to a year's supply at a time with my godly powers. So it's that easy? Why does Optimus Prime or anybody have to do anything else when you can just instantly manifest shit? When, like, he has no explanation for it, like how he does it, how it works. It's just godly powers, and you just got to accept it. And Chris can do that, and like it just seems like such a dick move that he can change everything with like the snap of his finger. But he's like, no, you're gonna work for your keep. But when the time comes and he's needed, maybe I'll get you a little bit of that Energon or whatever it's called. In addition to the 5 Autobots, 4 others later came into work at the base and help as needed. A medic who transforms into a helicopter by the name of Chapper, a Voyager-sized warrior gal who transforms into a fighter jet called Wave, a rescue bot who transforms into an artillery vehicle with a cannon that can not only blast debris and Decepticons, but can also shoot water and flame-diffusing liquid. They call him Fireshot, and a tech and intelligence-savvy Jeep bot who maintains the equipment with Armorax's help, and he keeps track of all incoming and in-city threats. Good ol' rollout. I mean, so we're learning about everybody today. If you thought it was just Bumbalumba and like Wheeljack and all them, no. We get to learn about more goats that keep the bad guys at bay, like Fireshot and Wave and Rollout, and like it's getting a lot to keep up on. And I'll tell you this much, we're not even halfway done. Like, Chris feels like he needs to go into a long introduction soon over every single Autobot, so just strap in, ladies and gentlemen, because we are not even close to the finish line. To note, the team named Samurai Pizza Bots. There were only 2 Autobots of the team who actually knew of the martial and samurai arts and defenses, Excelina and Prowler. The team name had been thought up by Punchy Sonichu later on after his arrival into Quickville and meeting Prowler. Plus, I liked the reference, so I left that chronicled as was to be updated later on in the comic books. So basically, Chris right there is like, well, I liked it. You know, like, I just liked the name. You know, like, I'll give you a little bit of explanation, but at the end of the day, I just like the name so it sticks. And that's really what all this is. Chris is like, oh, I like that name. Wave? That sounds cool as shit to me, so let's throw that in there. He can basically just attribute that saying, I liked the reference to every single thing we've talked about here today. Sanchu, Excelina, Bumbalumba, and Armorax each had a human partner, half human, half Sonichu in Chris Chan's case, and the other 3 human partners had worked at pizza places around the city. I roll my eyes as well, so they all have like human boyfriends and girlfriends, and all those boyfriends and girlfriends work at pizza places around Quickville. I feel like there's not a very diverse job pool in Quickville. It's like you're either part of the Quickville Defense Squad, you either work at the giant Quickville shopping mall, or you work at a pizza place. And in these 3 people's cases, it just so happens to be the pizza place. And Chris rolls his eyes at that. He's like, these peasants. You know, like, look at me being God, and look at them cooking a pepperoni pizza, which I eat every night, mind you. Maybe not in real life anymore, since real life Chris seems to be slimming down, but like Quickville Chris Chan, you know he's just chowing down on pizzas all day long. You know, he can eat whatever he wants and maintain his perfect figure. The team had also outsourced and made trips to other parts of Virginia quick on their wheels, and to other parts of the Earth by either space bridge or an Alakazam teleporting each bot. I gotta be honest, a lot of Alakazam references today. I know the Alakazam, Kadabra, Abra line has the move teleport, so that's like a big plus for what Chris needs it to be, but it seems like he's not mentioning Mewtwo much, and maybe they're on the outs or something. Maybe Chris has a new psychic Pokemon love he's obsessed with, because that's like at least the 4th Alakazam reference today. And now here we go, individual Autobot introductions. If you don't think you got a good idea on who these Autobots are yet, you definitely will now. And we're gonna start with the leader of the pack, of course, good old Sanchu. Sanchu is the leader of the Quickville Autobot team. Sanchu takes examples of leadership from Optimus Prime, Chris Chan Prime, Christine Chan Sonichu, Magichan Sonichu Prime, and even Sonichu Prime, Rosie Rosechu Prime, and Bumblebee. He places safety and security over everyone else. Everyone else. So it's like, guys, that building's gonna fall, but this car, I need to protect it. So if you're not out of there in like 30 seconds, it's kinda sucks for you, but I'm staying over here. As well as himself in good valor and mindset. He had taken the form of a blue Ford Escort station wagon in 2000, but before that, he had taken form of a blue Chevrolet Impala. And after becoming a headmaster in 2018, Sanchu took form of a blue 2017 Ford Fusion, and in losing the shield from his previous form, Chris Chan Prime had given Sonichu a Lion Bot partner that he transforms into, his Shield Silver. If you notice, basically Sanchu is just every one of Chris's cars Chris has ever had, but again, that's because Chris calls his fucking real life car Sanchu. And I also love that Sanchu is a real leader, you know, who's placing security over everyone else, and he's all about safety, and he takes examples from people like Chris Chan and Christine Chan, because of who else would you look up to but these shining examples of safety, and like, you know, that they never hurt a fly. Like name one person Chris Chan's ever done anything wrong to. You can't. Sanchu would keep Chris safeguarded on his trips to Charlottesville and back, on other road trips from time to time, before Chris was able to transform into his Sonichu form and run at Mach speeds. Personally, Sanchu would also meditate and connect with the sparks of the Cybertronians before him, and in appreciation of his own spirituality and the universe. He even connected with the sparks of Victor Sigma, Alpha Trion, Chris Chan Prime, Primus, and others to get sound advice, wisdom, and insights that help keep him better motivated and focused. During the breaks and downtimes, he keeps his mind sharpened and focused with routine physical combat and tactic practices, as well as the mentally simulations from Cybertron, as well as the Earth games like Tetris, trivia, and word/number games and other puzzles. It's just stuff Chris likes, and it's stuff Chris thinks he does. He's like, oh, that's what my car does when it's parked. Like, you know, when I'm in McDonald's, again, I'm going back to food things with Chris, when Chris probably isn't eating like this anymore, but back in the day when he was just cruising around with Sanchu, he was. So in his mind, like, he'd be sitting there eating a McChicken, looking at his car and going like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, my car he's just in tune with the universe right now, just basically absorbing electricity from every car that comes by, because they're all Autobots too at the end of the day. He also appreciates the natural amenities of Earth. He remains open, sharp, focused, and mindful to anything that could be a threat. So, like, shout out to Chris's fucking car. Like what a goat, just always on his toes and making sure that nobody's going to attack the Earth. Like, what a legend. Let's talk about Silver now, his shield, because Silver is a loyal lion bot with excellent animal instincts and intelligence that can easily rival Ravage. In his original form, Silver could also eject himself as a headmaster and man a free transector as needed, while his body remained as a simple shield. He would later receive his own transector that took the form of a lion bot in alt mode, and be his own bot like the others. He can also still change his body's size and transform into a good shield for Sanchu or other bots. So basically, Silver is the front line. If you take out Silver, you can get to the other guys, but he's really just a shield at the end of the day. Not anyone to take serious, usually in other forms of media, someone who would die in the first act, but in Chris's world, he's someone who lives forever and is probably a world beater just like the rest of them. Excelina is anything but a low-level RC clone. I don't even know what that means, but the fact that Chris is referencing it means she's probably just a low-level RC clone. During her combat training with Sancho and the others, Excelina exhibited more grace, tenacity, and quick instincts similar to Windblade. If you want to compare her fighting style with anyone though, it would have to be none other than Chun-Li of Street Fighter fame. Excelina's vehicle form is a stylish motorcycle, and when on the move, she projects a hologram of a driver in the driver's seat or off the seat. So, Windblade, don't know who that is. Chun-Li, know who that is because I've played Street Fighter before. So Excelina here is somebody with grace, tenacity, quick instincts, and fights like Chun-Li from Street Fighter. So, sounds a lot like Chun-Li from Street Fighter, if I'm being honest. Her human partner is Seketh. Okay, who are all these fucking people? Like, now, like, this is someone who hasn't even been referenced at all this whole time, but now we're learning about Seketh. They're born in Quickville on April 25th, 1975. She has had the fascination with the mixed martial arts, math, and sciences. She took a job at a Pizza Hut in the southeast segment of the city for further college tuitions. She loved her Suzuki motorbike for 5 years, but it was finding challenges of its own in 1993, then parked not far from the college dorm. A certain dark pink motorcycle was chillin' and on patrol. Seketh marveled at the motorcycle. Until when she spoke back, one thing led to another, and a spying Decepticon nearby got suspicious. So Excelina told Seketh to hop aboard, and they drove off. So basically, this Seketh guy, or a woman, is just a regular woman, and she was walking down the street, saw this motorcycle, and was like, oh my god, I want to fuck that motorcycle. Kind of like that dude who was in love with his car. And then, like imagine her shock when the motorcycle's like, sup, my name's Excelina. Like, I'm a real thing. I'm a robot. And, like, now there's this big love story with the two because a Decepticon just happened to be spying on them. So, I mean, you know, what is the Seketh hopped on his lover's back and they rode off into the sunset. What a true love story right here. And Chris also adds that Excelina also shared a fascination of science with Seketh, so they have that in common too. Armorax is a tough and durable but hard-headed yet lovable bot who loves to jam with the beats and tunes with his custom Cybertron guitar that doubles as an energon-charged blade, a machine shot rifle for gunning down Decepticons, and his bird bot partner Jet. His personality is a combination of jazz and bulkhead. His vehicle form is a souped-up cube truck with 11 decibel cranking speakers and subwoofers. He'll jam in the off time, but he can and likes to lift steel girders like dumbbell weights with concrete slabs on either end. His human partner, Jeremiah, but you can call him Gareth. And wait till you hear about Gareth. He is a bulky black man from the streets who carried a big old beatbox stereo on his shoulder, cranking out the beats and jams of dub, electronic, funk, and swag. This whole video, right? This whole video is just nonsense up to this point. Like, it was all building to this, where we learn about Jareth, who just sounds like a fucking Chad. Just going down the street with his boombox. That shit is just blaring, and he sees this big, what even is? What is he, Jam or Amarax? A big cube truck coming down the street, and he's just like, my god, do I want that truck? And he got it. Oh, you bet Gareth got it. You think I don't know what I'm talking about? He didn't either within the burbs of the north segment of Quickville, rockin' 23 in 1993, whatever that means. He met Armorax at a rager of a party outside the building Gareth was jamming to his own beats, and Armorax could not help but join in and invite him to cruise the streets with Gareth's beatbox. Gareth's beatbox hooked up to his woofers. That was a wild night in 93. Oh, dude, that shit was crazy. That was crazy. Gareth and the truck just got freaky with his boombox and shit. Like, I love how he's saying these are their partners too. Like, it's how Chris is married to Magichan, and that these people are married to these Autobots, like these giant robots. And in Chris's world, this is normal. It might be weird to y'all, but like these relationships are just a fact of life. Now we get to hear about Bumble Lumba. because he may be mold mates with Bumblebee and Cliffjumper and others, but he's actually more like Gears without the grumpy circuit card, but not as docile. The Scout will zap it up almost like a Sonichu with a rain dance turned on. His sporty green coupe vehicle mode and short stature allows him to be Hot Wheels fast and stealthy when it comes to in-person or distant spy and recon on an enemy and their hard drives. He spies well on missions upon Decepticons, Team Rocket, Robotnik, and so on. His 10k volt stingers and blaster will disable a heavy enough mechanical foe. Alright, good to know. His partner, Raven Lamook, is a major spy lover, an active espionage type with a punk style, and a caring, loving heart and soul. He heralds from within the suburbs of Quickville. She found Bumba's lime green sheen glistening on break at the Quickville shopping mall. He was spying on the spies, spying on Robert Chandler, the mayor. Raven helped Bumba confirm and bust the spies that day. Raven was 19 in 1993. Okay. Good to know. So that's the only person who Chris gives an age for, by the way. So everyone else we're in the dark on except for old Raven here. Oh wait, scratch that. He did say that big black bulky Gareth was 23 in 1993. Have to keep it consistent here, guys. Don't want to lie on Chris's name. Prowler is a solo act with high spark spirituality and a master of the samurai and martial arts, but he still worked well with his teammates. I'm not saying he's a copy-paste of animated Prowler, mold-mate aside, he's definitely like that. His personality was more like Drift from his Spotlight comic book with a dash of G1 Prowl. I was thinking Prowler from Spider-Man. He prefers his motorcycle with sidecar alt mode in disguise. Bludgeon really had to contend with Prowler at times, yet Bludgeon always lost, because of course, whoever is going at Chris's heroes are always going to lose. And as Chris said, Prowler is a solo person, so they don't have a human partner, which again, I guess is their just kind of, maybe they think it's weird. They're like, yeah, like, I'm a robot. I don't want to be with that, like, that fleshy thing over there. Like, I want to be with another metal person like myself, but I digress. When things started to heat up in 1995 with Crash Dummy on the prowl against the Power Rangers of Quickville, oh no, a few more Autobots had to be sent to help with the rescues of the citizens and defenses. That's when Chapper, Wave, Fireshot, and Rollout were called in from the Autobot Brigade on Cybertron. Hell yeah, the Medicbot Chapper always saw to the aid and rescues of the civilians and his fellow bots. He can be compared to First Aid in personality, but with the expertise and knowledge like Ratched. On the move, he swoops in as a helicopter. The mildly hot-headed yet level-headed warrior, the lovely Wave, will fly in and take down all of the Decepticons and large foes in her wake with as much caution as possible. She is always on target with precision. A few times as a 70-plus story building was falling down like a tree, Wave swooped in, transformed, and held the falling structure in place until the civilians were cleared away. Her Mach-speed jet form can't outpace most Sonichus or Rosechus, but you can always count on her to save the day and hit the mark. So Chris is just making sure you know, like, this Wave person, yes, they can catch a 70-story building, but, like, there are no Sonichus or Rosechus. Don't get it fucked up. Like, Sonichus and Rosechus, they're the cream of the crop. Nobody can beat them. But this Wave person's pretty good. I mean, Chris gives him a pretty damn good intro there, but at the end of the day, just don't get it twisted. They couldn't ever even come close to shine in Sonichu's shoes. Fireshot takes a page in personality form from G1 Inferno, but on the battlefield he's more like Armada Hotshot. Why does everyone have a comparison to somebody else in fiction? I digress. The extended cannon of his can almost rival Megatron's, but it is used to help civilians trapped in fire with the powdered flow of water or retardant foam, and his cannon can extend to very high stories like a ladder to climb down and up on. His armored vehicle mode may seem spacey, but it is tough like Ironhide on steroids. Okay, listen, I mentioned it earlier that I don't know like anything about Transformers, but I know a lot of you guys in the comments will. How much is he just ripping from Transformers right now? Like, who are these people in actual Transformers? Because I guarantee you, there's like the guy with the subwoofers and all, like, he's definitely a real character, right? And the person here who's like a firefighter with their firefighting foam and the ladders they can use, that's definitely a Transformer as well, right? Like, Chris is not coming up with this stuff on his own. Am I wrong? If I am, let me know. I would love to know. The Technician and Intelligence Databot rollout maintains the equipment at the base, but with Chapper also creates a number of technological marvels that even Wheeljack would applaud. He can also emit holograms for camouflage on spy and battlefield work. His ATV Jeep form suits him well, so this guy rollout just stays back at the base, doesn't fight anyone head on, what a pussy. Moving on. Before leaving Cybertron, Chris Chan Prime upgraded Armorax and Excelina so they can serve as combiner limbs as needed. And Wave, Chapper, Fireshot, and Rollout are 4 out of 5 of a full combiner team. And when Chris Chan Prime is with them, her ability to become a god-level right hand with a sword gives any Autobot Combiner team a real edge against the kaiju-sized foes. With Wave at the center, the Combiner team merges to become Metatron. Metatron. That's what the whole last 35 minutes all built up to Metatron. That's what I think Chris's Autobot team is called, and this was him describing all them in detail in one of the most long drawn out posts I think I've ever read. But it did kind of give me those nostalgic feels to the back in the days when I first started the channel and I just read Chris's jail letters, because it was a lot of like the same nonsense spewing that we were reading here. And it's wild to see that even all these years later, Chris is still in the same shoes, just talking about these characters like it's some real thing. And again, he'll never change. I never expect him to change, but I just wonder how it's like to be around him now. He's seemingly trying to get out of like some aspects of his wacky previous life by not dressing in like the crazy ways he did when he was out in public, mainly so he doesn't get spotted anymore. But I bet you all these Sonichu like ideas and the theory of him being God, he's still talking about that and still firmly believing that every day. Because most people would hear something like that and go, yeah, that's just some dude, probably some autistic guy wanting to write out some story he thinks is cool as hell. And yeah, that is what it is, but he also believes that it's real and that his interaction in that world is all like real things, that he's fighting with these like fictional characters for your and my safety. It's crazy, man. It's crazy that this is what Chris thinks he's doing right now, but this is it. This is really it. And I mean, other than that, he'll be on Twitter talking about My Little Pony shit or ranting about Donald Trump. And he's also left Twitter and joined Blue Sky, and I believe he posts more there. But other than that, Chris has been pretty quiet. And talk about Chris really hasn't been like it hasn't been prevalent. Nobody's been like, oh, what's Chris Chan up to? But he did get back in the conversation a few weeks ago, and it wasn't even his fault. And that's because a dude brought a sign to the Royal Rumble press conference a couple nights before the Rumble itself. And he had this sign that said, Chris Chan loves Barb. And he held it up, and WWE Champion Cody Rhodes pointed it out and read it aloud for the entire crowd and everyone watching at home to see. Now, I'd love to show you this actual clip, but WWE gets real quick to like copyright strike and take shit down. So I'll just explain that Cody points it out, he reads it aloud, you hear a chuckle or two from the crowd because really nobody understands what Christine Chandler loves Barb actually means. And on commentary you can hear Pat McAfee saying, hell yeah, as if to agree with that sentiment that yes, Christine Chandler does in fact love Barb. I fucking love that guy. And you can find this clip over on my Twitter at SmokeyMcC. I believe a dude named Mudascale on Twitter was the one who brought this sign. So it's been a crazy couple of weeks for Chris, especially after a couple months of not being seen at all. So yeah, that's what's going on. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video today, or at least tried to, with all the lunacy that was involved. So until I see you on the next one, I'm gonna get out of here. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, hell, great rest of the month. We're getting close to springtime, ladies and gentlemen. All this cold is soon to be over, and finally, oh my god, finally, it just may be warm again. So I'm going to look forward to that, and I hope you guys can do that too. And always remember to have something to look forward to in your life, ladies and gentlemen. If it's a vacation, maybe it's just a night you're going out with your friends, maybe it's a new game coming out. Always have something to look forward to, and life's going to be lit. So until the next time, I will see y'all later. Take care, everybody.